the hours I wasn't there. The strange thing about working night shifts is not the darkness. It's what you miss while you're gone. Every night at 8:30 p.m., I left the apartment with the same routine. Keys, wallet, phone, a quick glance at the mirror, and then her. Don't wait up, I'd say. Sadia would usually be on the couch, legs tucked under her, laptop glowing against her face. Like I ever do, she'd reply with a faint smile. It used to be warmer, that smile. It used to linger. We had been married for 4 years. Not perfect years, but steady, comfortable. The kind of marriage where silence didn't feel awkward until it did. I worked security at a private hospital. Night shifts paid better. That's what I told myself. That's what I told her. It's temporary, I said when I first took the job. She nodded. Of course, we both believed that back then. But temporary has a way of stretching into something permanent when life gets used to it. Bills, rent, groceries, plans that always seemed just out of reach. At first, it didn't affect us much. We adjusted. We always had. Dinner together before I left. Morning tea before I slept. Small rituals that kept us connected. But slowly, something started slipping. It wasn't obvious at first, just small things. She stopped waiting for dinner. I already ate, she'd say. Or, I wasn't hungry. She started going to bed earlier. Or at least, that's what she said. Her messages became shorter. Busy, talk later, don't worry about me. None of it was enough to raise alarm, not alone. But together, they created a quiet distance I couldn't explain. One night, around 2 a.m., I called her. It wasn't something I usually did, but something felt off that evening, a kind of restlessness I couldn't shake. She didn't answer. I stared at the phone for a moment, then called again. Still nothing. She's probably asleep, I told myself. That's what made sense. That's what I wanted to believe. But when I got home at 6 a.m., the bed was cold, untouched. The living room light was on. I walked in slowly. Sadia? No answer. Then I saw her, curled up on the couch, phone in her hand. Screen still lit. I exhaled. Relief. But something felt off. I walked closer, careful not to wake her. That's when I saw the name on the screen. Rafiq, a message. Still open. I wish you didn't have to go back to him every morning. My chest tightened. I stood there for a long time. Too long. Trying to make sense of it. Trying to explain it away. Coworker, maybe. A joke. Something harmless. But the words didn't feel harmless. I looked at her. Sleeping. Peaceful. Like nothing was wrong. Like I was the only one standing there holding something that could break everything. I slowly took the phone from her hand, my heart pounding louder than it should have been. I knew I shouldn't. I knew it was a line you don't cross. But something inside me had already crossed it. I unlocked the phone. Her password hadn't changed. It was still the same. My birthday. That hurt more than it should have. The messages loaded instantly, and just like that, my life split into 2 versions. Before I scrolled, and after, there were weeks of messages, late-night conversations, inside jokes I didn't understand, moments I wasn't part of. And then, the ones I couldn't ignore. I miss you already. Tonight felt too short. He has no idea, does he? My hands started shaking. I kept reading, even when I didn't want to, even when every word felt like it was tearing something open inside me. You deserve more than this life. I wish things were different. When he's gone, it feels like we're real. Gone. That word echoed in my head. Because I was gone. Every night. And in that space, something else had taken my place. I looked back at her. Still asleep. Still peaceful. How long? I whispered. But there was no answer. Only the quiet hum of the morning. I put the phone back in her hand. Exactly how I found it. Then I walked into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at nothing. I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat there, trying to breathe, trying to understand how something like this happens without you noticing. Or maybe I had noticed, and just didn't want to see it. An hour later, I heard her stir. Her footsteps, soft, normal. Arman, she called, her voice, the same voice I had known for years. Yeah, I replied. She walked into the room, hair slightly messy, eyes still half tired. You're home early, she said. I looked at her. Really looked, and for the first time, I didn't know who I was looking at. Shift ended on time, I said. She nodded. Okay. A pause. Did you sleep? I asked. She stretched slightly. Yeah, on the couch. I must have passed out. Lie. The word didn't come from anger. It came from certainty. I studied her face, looking for something. Guilt, nervousness, anything. But she looked normal. And that made it worse, because it meant she had been living like this. Comfortably. You look tired, she said, stepping closer. I'm fine. She hesitated, just for a second, then smiled. Go get some rest. That smile, I used to trust it. Now it felt like something I couldn't read anymore. Yeah, I said. She turned to leave the room, and something inside me snapped, not loudly, not violently. Just enough, Sadia. She stopped, turned. Yeah? I looked at her, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I could ask, right now, end the uncertainty. But I didn't. Instead, I said, nothing. She gave a small nod, then walked away. The door stayed open, and I sat there, alone, holding a truth she didn't know I knew. That day I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Every late night, every short message, every I'm tired, and for the first time, all the pieces started fitting together, not perfectly, but enough to hurt, enough to change everything. Because the worst part wasn't just that she was seeing someone else. It was that she had built an entire life in the hours I was gone, a life where I didn't exist, and I didn't know yet. If I was ready to destroy it, or pretend I never saw it. But one thing was certain. The nights I spent working were no longer the hardest part of my life. It was the mornings, when I came home, and had to look at her, knowing she wasn't just mine anymore. The truth that doesn't ask permission. The hardest part about knowing the truth is pretending you don't. The next few days felt like I was living someone else's life. Everything looked the same apartment, the same routine, the same woman sitting across from me at dinner, but nothing felt the same. Do you want more rice? Sadia asked one evening, her voice casual, almost gentle. I looked at her hand as she reached toward my plate. The same hand that had held someone else's. I thought, no, I'm good. She nodded and pulled back. A normal interaction, completely normal. That was the most disturbing part. How was work? She asked. Busy. That's good. Silence settled between us. It used to feel comfortable. Now it felt like something we were both hiding inside. I studied her when she wasn't looking, the way she checked her phone subtly, the way her lips curved at messages she didn't share, the way she seemed somewhere else. I started noticing everything. Too much. At night before leaving for work, I lingered longer than usual, not because I had something to say, but because I didn't want to leave. Why are you staring at me like that? She asked one night, half amused. I forced a small smile. Just thinking. About nothing important. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't push. That was new. She used to push, used to care about what I was thinking. Now she just let things go. That hurt in a quiet, creeping way. That night, around 1:40 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I was sitting in the security room at the hospital, staring at the monitors, but not really seeing anything. My mind kept going back to the messages, to that name, Rafiq. Who was he? How did it start? How far had it gone? Questions without answers are dangerous. They don't stay quiet. They grow. So I did something I had never done before, something that felt wrong even as I reached for my phone. I called her. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then she answered. Hello? Her voice sounded different, breathless. Did I wake you? I asked. A pause. Too long. No, she said quickly. I was just up, at nearly 2 a.m. Doing what? I asked. Another pause. I couldn't sleep. Lie. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. Okay, I said. Just wanted to hear your voice. She softened slightly. That's sweet, sweet. The word made something twist inside me. I'll let you rest, I added. Yeah, you too. We hung up, but something in her voice didn't sit right. It wasn't just what she said. It was how she said it, like she was distracted, like I had interrupted something. I stared at my phone for a long moment, then stood up. I told my coworker I needed a break, and for the first time in months, I left work early. The drive home felt longer than usual. Every red light stretched, every second dragged. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was echoing inside the car. You're overthinking, I told myself. You're imagining things. But deep down, I already knew. When I reached the apartment building, everything looked normal. Lights off in most windows, quiet, still. But as I climbed the stairs, I noticed something. Our door. It wasn't fully closed, just slightly open. A thin line of light slipping through. My chest tightened. Sadia was careful, always. She never left the door like that. I stepped closer, slowly, and then I heard it. A voice. Male. Laughter. Low. Familiar in a way I didn't understand, but instantly hated. My hand froze on the door. Every instinct told me to walk away, to pretend I hadn't heard it, to go back downstairs and give myself one more night of ignorance. But I couldn't. Not anymore. I pushed the door open, and everything changed. They were in the living room. She was sitting on the couch, close, too close, and him, Rafiq. I didn't know what I expected, but seeing him, real, physical, standing in my space, it made everything inside me go completely still. They both turned at the same time, her face drained of color. Our man. His expression shifted from confusion to something else, awareness. No one spoke for a few seconds. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the air had been pulled out of it. I thought you were at work, she said. I let out a small, hollow laugh. Yeah, I replied. So did I. Silence. Rafiq stood up slowly. I think I should know, I said, my voice calm, too calm. Stay. Sadia looked at me, panic rising in her eyes. Our man, please. How long? I asked. The question cut through everything. She froze. Answer me. It's not what you think, she said. I shook my head slightly. Don't say that, I said quietly. Not after everything. Rafiq shifted uncomfortably. This isn't my place. You're right, I said, turning to him. It's not. Our eyes met. For a second, there was tension. Unspoken. Heavy. Then I looked back at her. How long? I repeated. Tears filled her eyes. A few months, she whispered. A few months. I nodded slowly. That made sense. Too much sense. And while I was working nights, I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need to. She looked down. That was answer enough. I felt something break inside me. Not loudly, not dramatically, just final. Get out, I said. She looked up. What? I turned to Rafiq. You. He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I'll go. He walked past me, close enough that I could see the tension in his jaw, the discomfort in his eyes, but I didn't move. Didn't stop him. The door closed behind him, and just like that. It was just us again, but nothing about us was the same. Sadia started crying. Our man, please. I can explain, don't, I said. My voice wasn't angry. That scared her more. It just happened, she said. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing that came out. No, I said. It didn't. She shook her head, tears falling faster now. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it did. Silence. I was lonely, she whispered. That word hit differently, because it was true, but it wasn't enough. So was I said. She looked at me, shocked. But I didn't do this, I added. That was the moment she broke. I didn't think you'd find out like this, she cried. I stared at her. That sentence, more than anything else, cut the deepest. Not regret, not guilt, just bad timing. I saw your messages, I said quietly. Her face went pale. When? She asked. A few days ago. And you didn't say anything? I shook my head. I was trying to understand how my wife became someone I don't recognize. She covered her face, sobbing. I'm sorry, she said over and over again, but the words felt distant, like they belonged to someone else's story, because the truth was, something had already changed inside me, not just because of what she did, but because of what I saw, what I understood, that while I was working nights, trying to build a life for us, she had built something else, with someone else, and now, there was no going back to not knowing. I took a step back, creating space between us. I need you to leave, I said. Her head snapped up. What? Tonight? Our man, please? I can't look at you right now, I said. That was the truth. Simple, unavoidable. She hesitated, then slowly nodded, because deep down, she knew this moment was coming. She just didn't expect it to come like this. Neither did I. As she packed a small bag, I stood in the same spot, not moving, not speaking, just existing in a reality I never thought I'd have to face. When she reached the door, she stopped. I do love you, she said. I didn't respond, because in that moment, love didn't mean what it used to. The door closed, and the silence that followed was louder than anything I had ever heard. What remains after the break? The first night after she left, I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there in the dark. There's a strange kind of quiet that follows betrayal. Not the peaceful kind. Not the kind you choose. The kind that settles in your chest and refuses to move. I didn't cry, not because I wasn't hurting, but because everything felt numb. I replayed the scene over and over again. The door, his voice, her face when she saw me. And the worst part wasn't even the moment itself. It was how real it had looked. Not forced, not accidental, comfortable. That's what stayed with me. The way she sat next to him, like she belonged there, like I was the one who didn't. The next morning came too quickly. Sunlight filled the room like nothing had changed, like the world hadn't quietly collapsed overnight. I got up, walked into the kitchen. 2 cups sat on the counter. One clean, one still slightly stained from tea. I stared at them for a long time, then put one away, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't look at both. My phone buzzed. Her name. I stared at it. Didn't answer. It buzzed again, and again. Finally, I picked it up. "What?" I said. Silence. Then her voice. Small. Careful. "Can we talk?" I leaned against the counter, closed my eyes. "We already did." "No," she said quickly. "Not like this." There was something in her tone. Desperation. Fear. "Please," she added. I hesitated, because part of me didn't want to hear anything she had to say, but another part, the part that had loved her for years, still wanted answers. "Come over," I said finally. She arrived an hour later. I didn't open the door right away. I just stood there for a few seconds, hand on the handle, trying to prepare for something you can't prepare for. Then I opened it. She looked different, not physically, but something in her posture had changed, less certain, more fragile. "Hi," she said. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, the same space, but now it felt like neutral ground. We sat across from each other, not too close, not too far. Neither of us spoke at first. Then she broke the silence. I ended it. I looked up. "What? With him?" she said. "Last night." I studied her face, looking for something. Truth, regret, anything real. "Why?" I asked. She swallowed. "Because I saw your face," she said. That answer didn't sit right. "So you didn't end it because it was wrong," I said quietly. "You ended it because you got caught." She flinched. "That's not fair," she said. I let out a slow breath. "Isn't it?" Silence. Tears filled her eyes again. "I messed up," she whispered. That word, messed up, like it was something small, something accidental. "You didn't forget to buy milk," I said. "You had an entire relationship behind my back." She shook her head. "It wasn't like that." I laughed again. Short, bitter. "Then what was it like?" I asked. She hesitated. "It started as just talking," she said. "At work, during breaks, he listened." That word again, listened. "And I didn't?" I asked. She looked at me. "You stopped," she said softly. That hit, not because it excused anything, but because part of me knew there was truth in it. "I tried," I said. "I know you did," she replied. "But you were always tired, always rushing, always somewhere else." I clenched my jaw. "I was working," I said. "For us." "I know," she said again, and somehow that made it worse, because she wasn't blaming me, not completely. She was just explaining. "And he was there," she continued, "when you weren't." There it was, the simple, brutal truth. I nodded slowly, and then she looked down at her hands. "It became more," she admitted. "How?" I asked. "I don't even know," she said. "It just happened over time." I shook my head. "Things don't just happen, Sadia. They're choices." She looked up. "I know that now." The room fell quiet again. I studied her, really studied her. "The woman I married, the woman who betrayed me, the same person, and yet not." "Did you love him?" I asked. Her eyes widened. "No," she said quickly, too quickly. I held her gaze. "Did you think about leaving me for him?" She hesitated, and that hesitation was answer enough. I looked away. That hurt more than anything else she had said. "I didn't know what I was doing," she said. "I felt different with him." "How?" "Free," she whispered. That word again. I laughed quietly. "Free from what?" I asked. "From me?" She didn't answer, and that silence said everything. I stood up. "I need air," I said. "Armand, please. I can't sit here and pretend this is something I can understand in one conversation." I walked toward the door. She followed. "Are you leaving?" she asked. "No," I said. "You are." She froze. "Again?" I looked at her. "You don't get to come back and act like this is something we can just talk through in a morning." Her eyes filled with tears again. "I'm trying to fix this," she said. I shook my head. "No," I said. "You're trying to undo consequences." That landed, because she knew it was true. "I don't know what you expect from me," she whispered. I stepped closer. "I expect honesty," I said. "Not regret after the fact. Not explanations that make it sound smaller than it was." She looked at me. "Broken. I am being honest," she said. "Then answer me this," I replied. My voice dropped. "If I hadn't come home early that night," a pause, "would you still be seeing him?" Silence. Long, heavy, unavoidable. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. I nodded slowly. "Yeah," I said. "That's what I thought. That was it. That was the moment something inside me settled. Not healed. Not resolved. Just clear." I don't know if I can do this, I said quietly. Her breath caught. What do you mean? I mean, I don't know if I can look at you every day and not see this. Tears streamed down her face. I'll do anything, she said. I believed her, but that wasn't the point. Sometimes anything comes too late, I replied. The room fell silent again. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. I closed my eyes. I know, and that was the tragedy of it, because she hadn't set out to destroy us. She just didn't protect what we had, and that was enough. I need time, I said. She nodded slowly. Okay, and space, I added. Another nod. I'll go, she said. This time, it felt different. Not like she was leaving out of shock, but because she understood, she had to. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Do you still love me? She asked. I looked at her, and for the first time since everything happened, I didn't have an immediate answer. I don't know, I said. That hurt her. I could see it, but it was the truth. Because love doesn't just disappear, but it doesn't stay the same either. After something like this, it changes, sometimes into something stronger, and sometimes into something unrecognizable. She nodded slowly. Okay. Then she left, and this time, I didn't feel anger, just emptiness. Because I knew the next part of our story wouldn't be about what she did. It would be about what I chose to do with it. What we choose to carry forward. Time didn't fix anything, but it changed how the pain felt. At first it was sharp, constant. Every thought led back to the same place. Her, him. That night. But as the days passed, the pain didn't disappear. It just spread out, thinner, quieter. Like a wound that stopped bleeding, but hadn't healed. I stopped going to work for a few days. Told them I was sick, which wasn't entirely a lie. I stayed home, alone. The apartment felt different now, not just empty, but honest. No pretending, no half conversations, no hidden lies behind closed doors, just silence. And me. I started noticing things I hadn't before. The way the sunlight hit the floor in the morning, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the echo of my own footsteps. Things that had always been there, but I had never really paid attention to. Maybe that's what happens when something breaks. You start seeing everything more clearly. A week passed, then another. We didn't talk much, just a few messages, short, careful. How are you? I'm okay. Neither of us believed those words. One evening, my phone buzzed again. Sadia. I stared at the screen for a long time, then answered. Yeah, can we meet? She asked. Her voice was different this time. Not desperate, not pleading, just steady. Why? I asked. I think we owe ourselves one real conversation, she said. I considered it. Part of me didn't want to open that door again, but another part, the part that still needed closure, knew she was right. Okay, I said. We met the next day, not at home, not anywhere familiar. A small cafe across town. Neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window, hands wrapped around a cup she wasn't drinking. She looked up when I walked in. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then I sat down. Hi, she said. Hi. Silence. Not awkward, just careful. I've been thinking a lot, she said. Me too. She nodded. I don't want to make excuses, she continued. What I did, there's no justification for it. I didn't respond. I hurt you, she said. And I broke something that mattered. That was the first time she said it like that. Not softened, not explained away, just truth. I know saying sorry isn't enough, she added. It's not, I said. She nodded. I figured. A pause. Then why are we here? I asked. She looked at me. Because I needed to understand something, she said. What? What we had is still something we can choose. The word choose hung in the air. Not fate, not habit, not obligation. Choice. I leaned back slightly. That's not something you get to ask after what happened, I said. She didn't argue. I know, she said, but I'm asking anyway. I studied her. She looked different. Not lighter, not happier. Just clearer, like she had stopped running from something. I've spent weeks thinking about this, she continued. About us. About me. About why I let things go that far. And? I asked. She exhaled slowly. I was unhappy, she said. I felt that. But I didn't know how to deal with it, she added. So I escaped instead of fixing it. That was honest, painfully honest. And now? I asked. She looked at me. Now I don't want to escape anymore. Silence. I want to face it, she said. Even if that means losing you. That landed differently, because this wasn't about holding on anymore. It was about understanding what was left. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said. She nodded. I know. I don't know if I can forget what I saw, I added. I don't expect you to, and I don't know if love is enough after something like this. She held my gaze. Then don't decide based on love, she said. Decide based on what kind of life you want. That caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, she said slowly, do you want a life where we rebuild something real, or one where we walk away and start over separately? Two paths, both painful, both uncertain, but both possible. I looked out the window. People passed by, cars moved, life continued, like nothing in my world had changed, but everything had. I loved what we had, I said. Me too. But I don't think we understood it, I added. She nodded. We took it for granted. Yeah. Silence again. But this time, it felt less heavy, more reflective. I don't want to go back to what we were, I said finally. Her expression shifted slightly. Okay, she said. But, I continued. Hope flickered in her eyes. I also don't want to pretend those years meant nothing. She swallowed. They didn't. I know, I said. I leaned forward slightly. If we try again, it won't be the same. I don't want it to be, she replied. That was the first time something felt aligned. It would take time, I said. I'll give it. It would take honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. I'll do it. It would take rebuilding trust from nothing. She didn't hesitate. I understand. I watched her closely, looking for doubt, for hesitation. But all I saw was willingness, not desperation, not fear, choice. Just like she said. I exhaled slowly. I'm not promising anything, I said. You don't have to. But I'm willing to try, I added. Her eyes filled with tears, not the kind from guilt, the kind from relief. Okay, she whispered. We didn't hug, not yet. But something shifted, not fixed, not healed, but opened. A possibility. Months later, things were so complicated. We didn't move back in together immediately. We didn't pretend everything was okay. We talked, a lot, about things we had ignored before, about what we needed, what we feared, what we had lost, and slowly, carefully, we started building something new, not perfect, not easy, but real. One night, as I prepared to leave for work again, she stood by the door. You still hate night shifts? She asked. I smiled faintly. Yeah, me too, she said. A pause. Then she added softly, but I won't fill that space with someone else again. I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I believed her. Not because she said it, but because of everything she had done to become someone who wouldn't. I know, I said. That was the difference. Not blind trust, earned trust. And as I stepped out into the night, I realized something I hadn't understood before. Love isn't just about staying. It's about choosing each other, again and again, even after you've seen the worst. And sometimes, the strongest relationships aren't the ones that never break. They're the ones that learn how to rebuild, without pretending the cracks were never there.